Hello and welcome to Factorio Engineering. My name is Nilaus and we are going to talk about trains today. So this is not really a tutorial, but it's just something. There's so many people who've been asking me to make stuff with trains. So I thought, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just try to build some work a bit about on the trains and see if we can. Oh, this never works. And build some trains here and start talking about some of the aspects of trains that I find interesting and maybe they'll be helpful. All right, so we're going to start very, very simple. Here's a little train circuit here. I'm going to start with some of the very basic stuff. This is a train. These are train tracks. This is a train. It needs fuel. I think that's about as basic as we can do it. But let's yay, we can drive a train and I can jump out and then it'll keep going and then run me over in a second. Now, I want to dive into some some of the different parts of it. But the first thing is we're going to need a train station. I'm not really going to dive into how we lay tracks. Maybe the only thing I want to talk about is this way is really comfortable. Where you just Q click on it. You can see the arrow, Q, and pick it up, and then you can draw it like this. The great thing is you can draw it like really far away. And so it doesn't really care about the reach once you start placing it. That's quite handy. What I do not like, or that's probably because I don't understand it, is this part here, this ghost planner, where you shift click on it, but it does, I guess it does work. People say it works, but it does strange things. And suddenly you're like, that's clearly not what I wanted. So just get out of there. I don't use the ghost planner very much. Now we have a train stop. Let's call this something meaningful like number 1. And I can take my train. It's very nice actually. I'm using my Megabase, Modular Megabase for this because it has train tracks. One thing that is very convenient in new releases, you can always click on trains and locomotives from anywhere. You need to be able to find it. And that is incredibly useful. So you can easily change the sequence. So here, you're going to go to a station, and then we have the conditions. These are the conditions, not for when it goes there, but for when it leaves the station. So when you only have one, it doesn't make a lot of sense. However, in this case, I'm just going to take it as here. You're going there and staying there for 5 seconds until inactive. Now it goes there, and then it goes to another location. Now, what if we pulled another train stop here? What would happen? And this will go on number 2. That seems like a really reasonable location. I can add one more stop, go on number 2, inactivity, and it'll go happily back and forth. Waiting for 5 seconds, and going. Now in this case, I can also add a second condition. If I have a second condition such as inventory empty, it will now have 2 conditions, and it will, since there's an or sign between them, it'll go whichever one is filled out first, and therefore it goes immediately because inventory is full. What if we did like remove this one and added inventory is full instead? Sorry, inventory full. It'll wait until either the inventory is full, it isn't, or 5 seconds passes. There we go. What if we then change it here to say, change it to an and condition? That means both the 5 seconds wait and the cargo inventory full. Goes here, it counts to 5. Once that's done, it sees if the inventory is full, and it isn't. I can see I run on the tracks, that's how confident I am. And it will not go because this condition will not be fulfilled. And there we go, change it again. So we'll just have it running back and forth here for these two. Now, that's one train. Very, very simple. I'm just gonna pause it here. Actually, we'll just get it into the next one. There. Now, what if we had 2 trains? Let's try that for fun. And we need these guys. There we go. So you're going to be basically the same. 1, wait 5 seconds, and 2, wait 5 seconds. Start it, and you start it as well. So what do you think will happen? Yeah, trains are stupid. Because what happens is that they are now in the same block. And that means it'll go up and then, oh, it'll actually not bump it. That's lucky. That's rather lucky, actually. But they do not care about each other. They are gonna just bump into each other if they get a chance. So we are actually gonna pause these guys, because this is where we get into the train signals, because you can't really build trains without really having signals. You can see as soon as I have a train signal, I get a color line here. This is the block. The blocks are actually exactly the same as they are in real world. You also have train blocks. You can have moving blocks, but it's more common to have static blocks. Basically mean that if I have a block here, I'm gonna take it. You can see that on the tracks, depending on where I have it, it indicates the train. The signal is only counting for that direction. So over here, we're now seeing this is also a confused signal, because it doesn't create a new block. It basically just says this is still one block. But what if I put another one down here? Now you can see that there are two colors, and in each one we'll have a red light here. So what if I start this one, and I'm going to start this one as well? Are they going to go? They go to the red signal and to the red signal, but they can't really go into the next block, because this one is red. A block is red when a train is inside the block. So we could do this one and that one. And now it will work quite neatly, because there are 4 blocks. And as soon as this one go in, and you can see they only slightly get affected by each other. So this is very nice. Works. Don't get run over, please. Let's just make it slightly more complicated. No, not that one. And get it out of the way. And I'm gonna have a number 3. You're gonna be number 3, just for the hell of it. Number 3, there we go. And I will see, now they got stuck. Why did they get stuck? Because if you look at it, I have this one as a block, that yellow one's a block, but the red one is a block here, but it also goes all the way around this area. So that's not very practical. And therefore, this one gets stuck here. I will just take this one, yes. I'll remove it and change it to number 3 to 4. And is it... Whoa. Okay. Does it work? Yeah. No, it doesn't work, because this one, it cannot go into this one, this block here. Now this is where we can then say, okay, let's build another one here, and like this one, another one here. Good. Can that one work as well? Yes. See, at this point, I'd really like them to stay inside this area. Or let's just see this one. See, this one starts heading out and gets stuck up here. Now, for whatever reason, I want them to stay inside their own branches until they can get all the way through. And this is where the change signals comes in. The change signal is simply mirroring the signal in front of it. So if I replace this one with a change signal, this one with a change signal, you can see this is red, red, as long as the next one. So as long as this one is red, because there's something in this block, this is red, then this is red, until it goes out. Now one train is inside this block from here and all the way up. This is the way to make sure that it's there are different options. We can try making this one more advanced. Not really sure. And that one, does that make sense? No, it does not make sense. Just want it to be like the other one. Boom. And here, this one, I will also call it number 1, because it's possible to have 2 trains with the same stop. And in this case, now you can see it turns blue, because one of the options, one of the forks in the road is impossible to go but not both of them. So this one can actually, if I... Yeah, so this one will go forward and it'll go into this one. And that means there's an extra color. There's yellow, and I don't know why the yellow one is. I think that's only when they're passing. But the blue one means that at least one of them are operational. So here, this is now a little train stop. The general idea of this is that when you use signals, there's a very, very easy rule, and that is you use change signals before an intersection and you use normal signals after an intersection. So in this case, this is a change signal before, and then you should have a normal signal here, for example. Because then these two will mimic that one, which means that as soon as one goes in, the other one will be blocked. Otherwise, you can have some situations where they get stuck inside the loop here, or inside the intersection. And you really want to keep trains parked before intersections. Once they go into intersections, they start blocking all sorts of different ways. And that's why we use change signals to prevent that from happening. So this is a nice little setup. If I ignore it, then I'm going to get run over at some point. The next part that you will have to deal with as when working with trains is a pretty simple question. I'm going to stop these two. That I don't dare run around with this. No, I'm going to leave them being. You can just keep going. All right, the next part you're going to have to deal with is one-headed trains or two-headed trains. These are one-headed trains. That means they can only go in one direction. So if they need to go back, they need to go around in a circle. This is what I always implement in my setup, my bases, which means that, for example, here, this one is stuck. This can't get out of this location because it's at a terminal and there's no cul-de-sac to make it turn around. It also means that when you have stations such as this, you have to get an in location, going in to be loaded and going out again at different. It means some extra work. If I had a the two-headed train, like a train on each end, it could just go in and out. Now, there are some advantages and disadvantages for each. However, there's also the matter of just personal preference. In my case, the personal preference for one-headed trains completely trumps the benefits. So there may be other benefits, but I'm always making it single-headed, and that's why I'm going to continue with single-headed. However, it used to be that roundabouts caused train delays, because there were more paths to be calculated, and that got quite severe for very big train bases. It's not so much anymore. I don't know if it still is if you're really pushing the envelope, but if you are, then then you shouldn't be watching a train tutorial. For all sorts of normal situations, it is not a performance issue to use single or double-headed trains. The advantages is that you have, let me just draw an example here. So we're gonna have okay. That is a train station. That's another train station, another train station. So we can have 3 train stations. But if I have my train coming from here, and I only have a single lane here, then it also needs to go out like this. But then the same is true for this one, right? And this one. And that's basically the essence of why I'm not too keen on it. It's because it just becomes too much crossing back and forth when trains are going in and out of stations. And when they're going in and out of stations, they're running slowly. So they'll be stuck a long time in an intersection because they're slowing down and they're moving back out. And while it's going in and out, this train cannot get out. So if you have multiple parallel train stations like this, I prefer this way. As you can see, as it moves out, the other one can move in. That's one of the reasons I like it. The other one is the trains are moving faster, moving significantly faster, because when they have trains at both ends, they're going to carry the weight of a train here. Come on, you can do it. Can we see how it's much slower? And we have the very best fuel here. Let's see how it works. ugh, it's slow. It feels slow. That's a speedy little train. So that's another reason why I really prefer to have these trains. Because they don't carry around dead weight. When they're longer, you also need bigger stations for the same amount. Generally speaking, trains are... There are some common sizes for trains. And let's start painting some trains over here. And this is a 1/4 train. It's full of crap. So that's one option. Another common option that I see is 1/4. It used to be 2/4, but 1/4 is quite significant right now because you have nuclear fuel and you have the braking option as well. So that's not 4. 1/4 is good. I like 4 because you can have unloading from 4 different locations, and that is easy to merge because balances with 4 are good. You can also have, I'm seeing, can we disconnect here? No rolling stock found. Let's just try it. No. No rolling stock. Two 6. That's a good combination. But if you really want big trains, then I would say, yeah, I need 2 more. 3/8 are very good long trains. I don't know if 2/8 are working. Of course they're working, but would they be too slow? They might be. But 3/8, that's what I'm using if I want big trains. I don't really need or want bigger trains than that. One thing to consider when you're designing and building for larger or smaller trains, for example, a setup like this here. I have 4 lanes of trains, 2 going upwards, 2 going downwards. And if I have trains that are 3/8 trains, they can actually easily get stuck here in this path. So if it comes out here and goes in here, it can get stuck and can block a lot of work. So if you are working on 3/8 trains, you need to consider that you need long lines of intersection. You need more distance between intersections than this, because they will have a tendency just to jam here. And I saw that in my previous base, my Megabase. Yeah, it's actually called my Megabase. That they had a tendency sometimes to get stuck in these intersections. I also like the idea of small trains because you sort of have lots of small trains. However, the smaller trains are not good in a bigger base, because by the time a train goes from, let's say, this stop, it actually just left from the stop. Okay, it's stuck there. Goes all the way down to this location. It might just be, it has a lot of transit time. So when it gets there, just make sure that it's a full train. That's kind of okay, this is actually running out. Anything going? Nope, they're not coming. So this is on the train sizes, the signals, the train stops. Let's look at build a stacker. Let's look at a stacker. So we're building this damn thing here. This is my default 2 train stops location here. And then I'm gonna explain how it works. This can easily be made bigger, so just cut it over and open and just build more. This is a loading station. So the idea is minerals comes in here, goes into each location and gets, can I just wire this up so it doesn't blink all the time? Bling, good. Okay, so this is pretty basic setup for a train station. This is a 1-2 trains, 1 locomotive, 2 wagons, and minerals are coming in here, getting split, half in one lane, half in the other lane, goes in here, gets split somewhat evenly. It's not perfect, but the idea is it doesn't take much space here. Gets filled up in this location and then can go out. So you have 2 train stations here, and this is a stacker. The stacker comes in here. It's important to remember the signals I'm using here. These are normal signals because they have to be able to get in here without being forced to be able to move further. So even if there's a train here, I must be able to get in here with another train. Right? So this train can still move in to these locations and then will halt up here. However, when I then place this train inside the station, like this, you can see here these change to blue because one of these stations is blocked, red, and the other one is green. As I place another train on the other one, these are all red. It's important that you don't accidentally make like this one, because then it will completely ruin it. If you're adding another signal, it doesn't really matter. There's no point in adding this one. It doesn't give us any more. It just continues flowing the signal. So you basically need for each here, boom. Now this is blue because at least one is open, but not all of them. And now it's green because all are open. And that's how you build stackers. Build them close. You can technically build them a bit closer, but there's no point, at least in my mind. So you can, and how many stackers do you need? You need as many stackers as you can potentially have trains coming in. So if you always have a balance of only one train at each stop, then don't have balances actually. I would like to go into a bit more detail about sort of how to build with balances, how to build without balances, because there's some different situations. Now, I would recommend getting a nice blueprint book such as this one. I am having for my main lines in this space. That's the main lines are the vertical and horizontal lines. These are wider because I want more throughput on these lines, and just basically I don't want anything to be blocked when moving longer distances. Everything will basically go on this line and then head up and down. But right now it's not particularly congested. I have this massive intersection. This is half for fun and half because it looks awesome. And then my off branches here are just normal. And you can see these intersections here. What they do is these two lanes here can both go in, and these two lanes can, and they can also from up here, these two lanes here can both go into the intersection. And similarly, if I come from this intersection, it can go out to both of them, and it could go up to both of them. I think that's a pretty good intersection from a 4 to 2 T intersection. We also have other intersections such as this one, a T intersection between these locations. It's serving basically the same purpose of going through. You can see the number of signals that are going through. It works flawlessly. And I'm working on here having different modules, because then you can just stamp it together like over here. Just keep going. Very simple. And just this one. This is a Celtic knot or Celtic knot. This is a 4x4 intersection. It is pretty advanced, I guess. This is where you can see all of the different intersections or the different rail blocks. And it goes, basically it comes in from here and then it splits into 3. The left one is going downwards. The middle one is curving but going straight through. You could also just smash it straight through, but this looks nicer. And the right one is going up. And that's the same rotated around the axis, giving it this nice symmetrical pattern. And yeah, I like it. It also quite efficient because it still allows, how is it? It allows you to have a left-hand turn here, or a right-hand turn together with a left-hand turn up here. They are not blocking each other. That's important. It's an important aspect when you're building an intersection like this, because otherwise when the throughput comes in, you'll have a lot of blocking by every time there's a left turn, it blocks the entire section, and that's not intended. You want to make sure that left turns can be conducted at the same time as a right turn. Does that make sense? So this right-hand turn together with this left-hand turn, they can operate together without interjection. The other ones obviously cannot, but you can also see that the right-hand turn, the straight ahead, and the left-hand turn, they're also pretty fast that they go separate ways, and therefore can, as soon as the train goes here, another train can start in either of these directions. So throughput from one side is also quite high. So I think that's enough for this introduction to trains and signals and intersections and directions and sizes. Please leave some comments below if there's something else regarding trains or something else in Factorio that you say, hey, can you just do this kind of informal tutorial walkthrough of, and then I'll do it. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll be seeing you another time. Cheers.